Hey, what's going on, Run? How you guys doing today? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we're gonna go over another build. This time, we're finally doing something that's not a hunter. We're talking about a Warlock build. And this is the build that I bring out whenever things get tough, or whenever you just want to make something easier and just spam rockets, really. That's pretty much what this build is about. So no matter what you're doing, this build is gonna be great. Meaning that in Onslaught, it does amazing. If you're having some trouble with Onslaught, I would definitely recommend this build. It'll make everything just a lot easier. And I think this time we're actually going to be starting with our exotic piece, since it's just such a big part of this build. But let's get into it. So this is the exotic that we're running, the Cenotaph. Steadily reloads a portion of your equipped trace rifles magazines from reserves. So you're always just kind of like reloading the trace rifle. It slowly reloads it, but it's still just constantly reloading it. And damaging a vehicle, boss, or champion with a trace rifle marks them. And whenever an ally defeats the marked target, then they drop special ammo for you and heavy ammo for your teammates. And that is pretty much that line is the reason that we're using this. You can create just so much heavy ammo with the Cenotaph if you're like paying attention where like the yellow bars are. Most of the heavy ammo that you make is going to be by like shooting saboteurs and marking them, and then having your teammates defeat them. If you're running the Cenotaph, I would recommend that your other two teammates run like rockets, just so they can spam rockets out there. Galleys are really good. Galleys are amazing for just clearing out ads. And when they have this much heavy, it's over. It's gonna make the onslaught so easy when you have the Cenotaph mask on. It is just ridiculous the amount of rockets you can get out there. It's amazing. You know, when everything else fails and when things seem hard, the Cenotaph's always there with that unlimited heavy to get you through things. So since we need to run a trace rifle with this exotic, let's talk a little bit about some trace rifles that you can run. If you want to go for an exotic trace rifle, then Divinity is probably going to be your best bet. You're going to be able to put a damage debuff on the targets that you mark as well. And you also have built-in just overload. So if there's any overload champions, you're going to be able to deal with them with Divinity. Divinity is just fantastic. And I think it's probably the best trace rifle that you can actually pair up with this helmet. So Divinity gets like an SS plus when it comes to like pairing up with the helmet. But if you're already using your exotic slot, or you just don't want to run Divinity, or maybe you don't have it, then there's a bunch of just other good trace rifles that you could run. Then the two other legendary trace rifles you may want to run, I would say, are Akasha's Dejection from the Root of Nightmares raid. This thing is fantastic, and it comes with Incandescent, so it has a bit of synergy with our subclass. Or the Retrace Path, which is again another solar trace rifle that also has Incandescent. So those would be like the main two that I would recommend. But then, you know, there's just a ton of other trace rifles out there that can be good. There's things like the Holo Denial, the Path of Least Resistance. They're a little different and they don't have as much synergy with their subclass. But I would say that if you want to run them, as long as you have a trace rifle, you're going to be doing pretty fine. It's mostly the fact that we need a trace rifle to proc the Cenotaph. This is what I was running. I was running the Divinity. And for my heavy, I was using an Unwavering Duty, the machine gun, the solar machine gun, since it matches my subclass. And we can take advantage of all those artifact mods and make just a bunch of explosions, just tons of other ad clear. And then my primary weapon was just either a hand cannon or a sidearm, depending on like the champion that we ended up encountering in the Onslaught. But I wasn't really using it for much. The primary weapon, it was really used for like dealing with champions. Most of the time I was using either my machine gun, or whenever there was things to tag, I would be using my Divinity. Alright, next up, let's move on to how we have our class set up. First of all, we are on Well. You know, Well is just fantastic for any of these endgame activities, so we are on Well. For a healing riff, we're actually not on a healing riff. We are on Phoenix Dive. I kind of messed around with both of them. Phoenix Dive ended up just being better for me with the way that I was playing. Just going around, moving, and not really staying in one spot. But if you're just kind of standing next to like the IDU and just kind of defending it, I think Healing Rift's probably going to be better. But you could go with either one depending on how you play. For our melee, we have Celestial Fire, so we can get Radiant from a distance, and also use Scorch some targets. And for our grenade, we have a Healing Grenade, because that thing is OP. Healing Grenade's OP, and they're just going to keep you alive. So definitely put on the Healing Grenade. For our first fragment, we have the Ember of Mercy. Whenever you revive an ally, you and other nearby allies gain Restoration. And this is fantastic for whenever you have to pick up somebody in just like the heat of battle, whenever everything is shooting at you, and you pick them up. Not only are you going to get that overshield, but you're going to get restoration. So it's just more likely that you and your teammate get out of life and able to like regroup. So I really like Ember of Mercy for this like higher end activities where you might be dying in like bad spots, so you can recover with the Ember of Mercy. Next up, we have Benevolence, applying Restoration, Cure, or Radiant to your allies, grants increased grenade, melee, and class ability regeneration. This is gonna let us do spam abilities because we can actually give our allies all three: Restoration, Cure, and Radiant with our grenades, our melee, and also with our Healing Rift or Fiend Staff, whatever you ended up going with. You'll be able to proc that Ember of Benevolence and just kind of keep spamming abilities with that increased regen. I really love this fragment, it's just so good for spamming abilities. And since in Onslaught everyone's so close, you can really take advantage of this one. Next up, we have Ember of Empyrean, solar weapon or ability Final Blows, extend the duration of restoration or radiant effects applied to you. So this is just gonna make it so our restoration, our radiant, you stay on us longer. This is the reason why you want to have at least one solar weapon, whether it's the machine gun or the trace rifle, just so you can always have restoration and radiant. And with the amount of ads that are always around, you can pretty much keep that going for a really long time. It is ridiculous how long you can keep restoration and radiant going. And the final fragment that we're running is the Ember of Torches. Power melee attack against combatants, make you and nearby allies radiant. So all you have to do is just hit them with your melee and you'll become radiant. You also make your allies radiant. And this is just another way to not only proc Ember of Benevolence, but also just making sure that you always are radiant and are able to like take advantage of all those fantastic mods this season. And actually, speaking about mods, that's the next thing we're doing. Let's take a look at some of the mods that we're running on this build. First of all, for the helmet, we have Special Ammo Finder, because we always want to have special. Harmonic Siphon, so we can make couple orbs. And then Radiant Light, for whenever we pop our well, we give armor charge to our allies. For our gauntlets, we have Harmonic Loader, for reloading our machine gun or trace rifle, whatever ends up being our solar weapon. Focusing strikes, we can get some class ability energy whenever we do damage with our melee. And then impact induction, which makes it so whenever we hit something with our power melee, we reduce our grenade cooldown. Just a couple more things to reduce our cooldowns even more, so we can spam in more abilities. For our chest piece, we have our resistances. These will change depending on like what the threat is, so make sure you check your threat before you go into Onslaught and just kind of adjust them accordingly. For our boots, we have Absolution and Orbs of Restoration, both for them to like just recharge our abilities with Orbs of Light, so we can spam abilities even more, and also a Scavenger, so we can get some more ammo from those heavy drops. Since we actually don't get as many heavy drops as our teammates, we mostly get special, so we want to make the most out of those heavy drops. And lastly, for our class item, we have Special Finisher, Bomber, and Reaper. Reaper is to make more orbs, Bomber is so we can get our grenades back faster, and Special Finisher is just so we can make sure we're always topped off on special. This is something that you could keep or not. If you feel like you have more than enough special and you don't really need more, then you could cut it out for something else. But if you feel like you could always do some more special, then Special Finisher is just something you can do. For Artifact, we're just kind of like running all the solar specific mods. Kindling Trigger, Flint Striker, Heart of Flame, and Race of Precision. They're all together just going to add to your ad clear and just make your solar weapons more effective. I would also recommend Revitalizing Blast so we can weaken like champions or bosses with our Stellar Melee. So that's another really good one. So all the solar mods and Revitalizing Blast, that's what we're running on the Artifact. And that's it. That is the build. Very simple when you break it down to it. It really is just pretty much the helmet doing like the hard carrying of this build. helmet divinity or helmet plus trace rifle is just pretty much all you need. It's hard to like compete with just having that ridiculous amount of heavy. Just make sure that your teammates are actually using that heavy, because if they're not using that heavy, it's like you don't even have the helmet at all. So just make sure that they have like rockets or something that can clear ats very quickly, and that they're just spamming that thing, because they're gonna have a ton of heavy anyways. Not only from you making all that heavy, but also from like the special objectives, the side objectives, they give you heavy as well. So there should be heavy all over the place. So not be afraid to tell them, just main heavy. The Galahorn again is fantastic for your teammates. So if you're having trouble completing Onslaught, there's a build that you can use, and it'll increase your chances for sure thanks to that unlimited heavy. But yeah, that's gonna be it for today's video, everyone. Thank you all for watching today. Thank you for stopping by. Let me know in the comments below what do you guys think about this build. I know this is not really like a new build. This build has been around for a long while, ever since the Xenopath pretty much came out. But I'm surprised that you don't see it as often as you probably think you would, especially considering how strong and just how easy it makes everything. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you all for watching. If you use the build, make sure to come back to this video. Tell me what you guys think about it. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care, everyone. Have a good rest of your day. Peace.